Welcome to La La Land on LA Talk Live. That's Peter Miller. Hello. I'm Brett Chapin. Thanks for joining us on La La Land. This is the only nationally broadcast show by Los Angeles artists about Los Angeles artists on episode 104. And kind of came into some different intro music this time, so that threw me off a little bit. But we have with us guest co-host Peter Miller. Hey, Peter.
Hi.
Is your microphone working, Peter Miller?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
Yeah,
But you sure look good.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, hey, now there it is.
Go.
There we go. This is live radio, guys. Things happen. Hey, Peter Miller.
Hi, Brett Chapin. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Dorothy is on vacation. She's
Yes.
in South Carolina, and you are kind enough to fill in for her. And you were also one of our 5 finalists for our
That's
co-host
right.
search.
That's right.
And
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back.
Yeah.
Who was on last time you were on?
Who's?
I forgot.
It was Jameson Hayes.
Hayes, yeah.
Jameson Hayes and the lovely and talented Joy Meads from the Center Theater Group.
That's right. That was a good episode.
That was a good episode. We all had a lot of fun with that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're actually, by coincidence, you're in a show with Dorothy right now.
I am. I'm in 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee with her, and something that's really cool that she's doing. You know, Dorothy is playing a role that was originally written as a boy, and this happens all the time in local theater. They will gender flop certain parts typically because not enough men show up. That's typically what I don't think I've ever seen a man play a part meant to be a woman because there weren't enough women. I think it's usually the other way around.
Unless it's Shakespeare.
That's right. But Dorothy is playing a role meant to be a boy. She's playing it as a girl, and if there was ever an argument that this part could be gender flopped, she is the argument. She is brilliant at it.
I'll bet she is.
She's going to be the most adorable thing in the show. It's really, really working.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee opening on April 12th, running to May 12th,
That's right.
TheaterPalisades.com.
TheaterPalisades.com. Check us out. It'll be a lot of fun, and I heard that we are supposed to be coming in a few weeks to give you guys a bigger sample of what we're doing.
You guys are. I can't wait. I'm actually not going to be here that week, unfortunately.
Oh.
So I'm going to miss it.
No.
But Dorothy's going to be here, and I heard you guys are going to be singing, and it's going to be great. I can't wait.
Cool.
Yeah. So we do something on La La Land called the Theater Minute, where we talk about different theater shows that are happening in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you've seen lately that you want to tell us about? Because I got a bunch of stuff here.
You got a bunch of stuff there. I caught some things down in Orange County not too long ago. I caught a couple friends of mine in Amadeus down at the Maverick Theater down there.
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever been down there. It's a really cool space. It's got 2 theaters. One's a cabaret, one is a little black box, and they just use whichever one is most appropriate for the show. But this was a great production of Amadeus. They had the audience kind of seated in the middle of everything. Wasn't quite in the round, but it was a little close.
Theater in the half square? Or half round?
Something like that. They had 2 sets of chairs facing each other, and there was an area in the middle where the actors could go. There was also the stage over here, another set over there. So you were kind of in the middle of the whole thing, and it was cool. Really, really well done. Amadeus at the Maverick.
Check it out at the Maverick Theater, guys. I also recently saw a show called Walking the Tightrope. Incredible show. 24th Street Theater. One of the best things I've seen on an LA stage in a while.
Wow.
And I don't say that often. This is an amazing show. And I forgot to mention it last week, but definitely check them out. 24thstreet.com. Walking the Tightrope. They've just been extended, I believe, for another month. So definitely check them out.
Sweet.
We talked about Spelling Bee. I went up to Santa Barbara to the Center Stage Theater and saw a show called Circle Mirror Transformation on Thursday.
You tweeted about that. How did you like it?
I liked it a lot.
Good.
I liked it a lot. It was about actors taking an acting class and 6 weeks of an acting class and just the changes that have take place within the actors and within themselves. Really, really great show. Center Stage Theater for any information on that if you are up in the Santa Barbara area. And we definitely want to make sure we let you know who we have with us today on the show.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes. I'm excited about this show because next week we have 7 guests, and this week it's a nice, relaxed 2, so we can just kind of talk to you two.
We're having the Von Trapp children next week? Is that what's going on?
Basically.
Oh, man.
We have with us, and you will be able to see them right after the commercial, but You guys can wave to the camera or something if you'd like to. So we have with us Jeanie Hackett of
She has a lovely hand, yes.
she does, of the LA Stage Alliance, of On the Spectrum at the Fountain Theater, of Jeannie's Workroom, of the Rattlestick Theater, of what don't you do, Jeannie? You do a lot.
I like to do as much theater in the LA theater as I can,
I noticed.
but I don't actually work for the LA Stage Alliance.
Okay, you are an Ovation Rules member,
Yes,
committee
I'm
member.
on the committee,
Mhm.
for the Ovation Rules Committee. Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll get into a little bit more of that in just a minute.
Good.
And Doug Clayton, the Director of Programming and Operations for the LA Stage Alliance.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Doug is a second-time guest on the show. There's a lot of great stuff going on in the LA theater scene right now. He's going to talk with us a little bit about that, some of the changes that are happening, and give us some great insight into LA theater. Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Happy to be here.
And we also want to make sure that we thank our amazing Indiegogo funders. We have an Indiegogo account right now, and we've got about 7 days left on it. And we're trying to get $500 for our Indiegogo account, and it looks like there was one this morning that I didn't know about, so it looks like we're at $325, which is pretty close.
Nice.
We're getting there. So definitely sponsor us on Indiegogo if you can, and there's a lot of great perks. We are offering commercial advertising, 85 commercials a week for one level of sponsorship. I think 170 commercials a week for another level of sponsorship. So definitely check us out on, you can find that through our Facebook page at facebook.com/lalalandtalk. And we want to definitely thank Elizabeth Oliker, the anonymous person, Doug Oliphant, the other anonymous person, Steve Julian, Michael Seal, Caitlin Bauer, and Show More Funders. And the rest.
Click on that.
Yeah, I know. And Lauren Hawkins, Maria Baumgartner, and Danny Gilmore. Thanks so much, guys, for contributing to our Indiegogo account. We really appreciate it. And with that, unless you have anything else, Mr. Peter Miller, we will go to a quick break and come right back with Jeanie Hackett.
We can go to a quick break.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Guys, for any information on us, find us at facebook.com/lalalandtalk, twitter.com/lalalandtalk, and definitely call in and join the conversation with Jeanie Hackett and Doug Clayton at 323-247-7443, 323-247-7443. We'll be back on La La Land with Brett and Peter Miller today on LA Talk Live. Welcome back to La La Land. Wait, the music's going to kick in. There it is. Welcome back to La La Land on LA Talk Live. I'm Brett Chapin. That's Peter Miller on a Saturday afternoon, and we are here talking with the amazing Jeanie Hackett. If you have
Hi,
any
Jeanie.
questions for Jeanie, make sure to give us a
Hi.
call at 323-247-7443, 323-247-7443. And I just wanted to mention, I forgot one other person on our Indiegogo account, and that was Kristen Towers Rolls.
Oh,
The
how
amazing
can you forget Kristen Towers rules?
I better not.
Oh
She's
my
coming in
goodness.
next week, so,
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
So thank you so much to Kristen, and we are having trouble with our internet service, so my apologies to Cindy Marie Jenkins about not mentioning her stuff during our theater minute, but we're going to mention her twice next week
Okay.
to make up for it.
You owe her two now.
I know, I really do. Hi, Jeanie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here today.
We're happy to have you. We have been wanting to have you on the show for quite a while, and you're just so busy. You're a hard lady to book, but
Well, finally we're here.
yes,
Great.
thank you so much for joining us. You have a lot going on. You have a lot of different projects. So I think that maybe we should just go through these one at a time. And then if we have time, we'll go back and get into some of your history in the arts and things like that. If you could tell us a little bit about Rattlestick Theater.
Oh, well, this is really, really exciting because the Rattlestick Theater has been based in New York for 18 years. And right now they're doing the hit play, The Revisionist, that Jesse Eisenberg wrote, starring Vanessa
Oh,
Redgrave.
Great
That
movie.
has gotten just such great reviews. And they're really looking at and experimenting about, in terms of perhaps launching a Rattlestick West. And to that end, they're presenting their first show, Slipping, by Daniel Talbot at the Lillian Stages opening April 7th.
Mhm.
And I think it's a really exciting play. It did very well in New York, but it's a whole new production. New director, mostly new cast, new designers. And and should this experiment work, I'm working with them as a consultant, helping them land in this. We have a really, really unique LA theater community with a whole 99-seat
We do.
world and how it works and all of that. And it's been really my pleasure to, help them interact with LA Stage Alliance and find the right people to be on their team while they're here, and to support this wonderful theater, a playwrights theater that's committed to doing the second production of any new play, not just one, not just the first one, because lots of playwrights get their first production,
Mhm.
but in the first production, the play finds where it lives. The second production really, takes it to the level I think it's meant to be, and it's meant to live in the world. It's like, the baby growing up.
Absolutely.
And
It's a good way to
Rattlestick.
describe it.
Hmm?
That's a good way to describe it. That's all I said.
Yeah. And I just think that Rattlestick is the people I've met so far, the their kind of aesthetic sensibility is so driven in such an authentic, organic way that every important playwright in New York certainly is associated with them. And I think it's going to become a haven for LA playwrights to launch new work as well, if the experiment succeeds. I mean, they're trying it out. They're seeing how it's going to work, and hopefully it will, and hopefully they'll be embraced.
So you're kind of being their LA theater liaison in a way.
Yes,
That's nice.
Yes, I am, and I used to be the artistic director of the Antias Company, and I also was the artistic director of the Classical Theater Lab for a while. So I kind of have some experience with growing small theaters in this community,
Mhm.
and maybe it was just beginner's luck, but with Antias, we went really fast from a totally volunteer organization to a fully staffed, a professionalized board administration.
I can't believe how fast Antias
And
has grown.
it was a really fast growth period.
Yeah.
And because of my experience in that, I'm one of the things I really love to do is to help other theaters grow, launch, nurture. I I really think our LA theater scene right now is so vibrant, so exciting, so I mean, where else can you see the kind of actors in intimate spaces for a $30 ticket? You can't see it anywhere else in the country.
No.
And risks are taken. People try things that I think they're afraid to try other places. And certainly we have all this talent here that is, not always used well by the television and film industry. And besides, that's called using talent. Theater nurtures talent.
There's the difference.
And using talent is what a lot of us feel when we book that guest star.
I feel very used when I do background work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
the sense of being used, and we're getting paid for it, but it's not something where that window opens that your talent can grow,
Right.
that your talent can, you can realize your potential.
I love it. I think it's set experience, but outside of that, you're not really learning much when you're doing
No.
things like that. No offense, theater film people, but yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about On the Spectrum? This is
Well,
something
yes.
you're working on.
Yes,
Speaking of
this is,
using your talent.
I've been a professional actress since that's how I started, and I love that. I love to do other things as well, but right now I am again acting on stage, which is a thrill, and it's in such a beautiful play at the Fountain Theater called On the Spectrum. We'll all hold up our little postcards
yeah.
now. And this is a new play by Ken Lebesnik about a love affair between a boy who has Asperger's and a girl who is autistic. And I play the mom of the boy. And, I really want him to find a normal life.
Mhm.
I have been really pushing him with all these therapies and everything to be mainstreamed. And he meets this girl who really says, hey, who we are and what we do and the way we operate is creative and cool and unique, and it's not a disability, it's a difference. And it's really the story of him finding himself. And I think it's a beautiful story. And certainly with the prevalence of autism these days, it's time for a story about adult adults with Asperger's, with autism, people on the spectrum, and I actually think all artists are. We talked about this before the show started.
Yeah.
Are someplace on this spectrum of
Sure.
intense focus and sort of even social deficits.
I think you have to be an
We
artist.
have to, right?
Yeah.
That's why we go on stages, because something in our, at least I know in my early life, I always felt like a bit of an outcast in high school. I would play my guitar and I won the essay contest, and I'd sort of be off in corners until I discovered theater.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I had found my niche and my world. So anyway, On the Spectrum runs through April 28th, and you can I say where you can go for tickets?
Please.
At
Yes.
thefountaintheater.com. You can get tickets. The phone number is 323-663-1525. We just got an amazing review from Charles McNulty in the LA Times, and you can see all the reviews on the Fountain's Facebook page. I'm really, really proud to be part of this, and I hope people will come and see it.
I think they will. Because the Fountain's great. If you haven't been to the Fountain Theater and you live in LA, go see this show. It's really great. Little space out there.
It's a wonderful community of people working there too. They're really passionate and committed, and if there's such a thing as art workers, that's what they are. They're toiling in art every single day. So
Love it. My kind of people.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have Jeannie's workroom. You are so busy, Jeannie.
Well,
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Jeannie's workroom, if you could.
I like to do a lot of different things.
We can tell.
I really love to act, but I've also been directing lately. And also I'm going to be directing in June. I'm directing Kindertransport for LA Theater Works.
Oh, another project. Shocking.
Yeah, another project with Jane Kasmerick and Susan Sullivan. So far are the two
excellent.
stars in it. And I have directed a couple things for LA Theater Works, and I really enjoy directing these radio, plays for radio, which is so much fun to do that process. But I really, I finally came to terms with myself that I just wasn't happy doing one thing. And I know a lot of us in theater, in acting, are like that. Sometimes by necessity, we need to do more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote, when I was in the 90s, I wrote 2 books on acting. One is called The Actor's Checkoff, which is still in use today in schools and in professional productions. And the other is called Toward Mastery, both based on the work of the late Williamstown theater director Nikos Sakharopoulos. I wrote those books. They went out into the world. That's when books were still being published. And
Pre-Kindle, huh?
Yes, pre-Kindle. And from that, I started teaching and coaching. And I found that I loved that. I mean, I just felt like I found a place where I felt like I could really give of myself and my talent in a way that I sometimes didn't feel in acting. You don't always feel that you're as useful, playing the crying mom on I won't say which show because I don't want to I want to be hired by them again. But
Different strokes?
yeah, must have been.
Yeah.
But I started
What you talking
teaching and
about, Brett?
coaching, and I've taught, I think, over 1,000 actors, coaching, teaching, classical theater acting, scene study, private coaching. And this became something that I thought, I belong here. And then I also, started consulting with theaters. Well, I thought that's another aspect of what I like to do. I also direct. And so I thought, I want to start this space online. It's at jeaniehackett.com. It's called The Workroom, where I am writing about acting. I call it all things acting plus creative process plus theater art. And I'm writing, and other people are writing. I have a lot of guest bloggers about, I'm not writing about how to get good headshots, and I'm not writing about how to get an agent. I really want to be in the thick of the art, because what I feel I need the most is to stay within the space, the creative space. When I'm distracted, when I get out into, the mundane details, or did this person like me, or what does my agent think, I lose something. And so the workroom first and foremost was a space for me to stay in the center of what really mattered to me. And I had been writing about acting for 20 years, and then came this blogging thing. Hey, I already had all the material.
Yeah.
I just, I was ready for it. I needed a blog before there was a blog. And then it became a space for me to invite other people in to say, stay in this space that matters, this space where we all started, the thing that got us to do this in the first place, the why am I doing this, which I think is the most important question any artist can ask themselves, and that you must ask yourself every day. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I doing this play? Why am I acting? Why?
Do you find that it helps you as an actress, as a performer,
To ask
to ask that question and to have the blog?
Absolutely. I feel like I feel like I stay connected to my essence, my essential self, to my place of loss and my place of needing to have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
By writing. I love to write, and I want to use all of myself. So that's what the workroom is for. Is a place for me to use all of myself, and a place to invite others to come in and live in that space with me. It's virtual now. I'd like it to be a real thing one day, and I picture it with food and things happening all over the place.
I bet it will be.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I can see that happening.
I hope so.
We're talking to Jeanie Hackett of Jeanie's Workroom, the Rattlestick Theater, and On the Spectrum. Call in with questions for her, 323-247-7443. That audience, be quiet. So what about you as far as your history as a performer, as an artist? I know you started in L.A., or excuse me, you started in New York.
Yes, I did. I started in New York. I went to NYU, and from there I went to the Williamstown Theater Festival as a non-equity actress, along with some I was there with Kate Burton and Jane Kaczmarek and Tony Goldwyn and Amanda Plummer, and a whole group of us did all the non-equity stuff there was to do at Williamstown. And it was a very exciting time to be at Williamstown. It was in the mid-'80s when every single, Colleen Dewhurst, Blythe Danner, Frank Langella, everyone was there. And it was really a chance to learn from the great actors.
Yeah.
And they all were there for 6 shows every summer on the main stage and 6 shows on the little stage. So I feel like that's where I learned how to be a professional, how to be an artist, that's what I aspire to. That's what I hold on to now as my vision of what it means to be in the theater. And then I worked in New York. I did 2 Broadway shows. I played Stella in A Streetcar Named Desire at Circle and Square, and I played
fun role.
Yes, very fun role. And I played Belle in All Wilderness at the Roundabout. And my first professional job, I was cast by Tennessee Williams to play Jane Sparks in Vieux Carré at the Tennessee Williams Fine Arts Center in Key West.
By Tennessee Williams himself.
Yes, I
my
went
goodness.
down. I went down there for the audition because I was nearby, and I thought I'm going to go and audition, and I was cast by. I don't even know if the director wanted me. I did the audition, and he came up to me, and right afterwards he said, "You are my Jane," and gave me this great big hug. And I don't know if the director wanted me or not, but I got the part.
Tennessee wanted you. That's
He
all that
wanted
matters.
He wanted me. I went back to New York, and then a week before I went down to start the play, he died in February of 1983. I was very, very heartsick for myself, really, and of course but it was an incredible thing to be able to feel that Tennessee Williams had cast me in my first professional job. Whenever I feel disheartened, I go back to that, and that sort of lifts me up.
Yeah, talk about giving you confidence.
Yeah.
It really did.
It's excellent.
And then I did a lot of theater in New York, and about 20 years ago, I decided to move to LA for personal reasons. My husband died very without much warning and notice, and I needed a new life, and I love it out here. I absolutely. I wasn't sure about the theater scene when I first came out, and 20 years ago it was very different than it is now. But I've done film and television, and owned up to that my first love is theater. And maybe if your first love is theater, you should move back to New York. But I love the theater scene here, and I'm really, really happy to be part of it.
And you really seem to be working consistently in it. You know, you're one of the actors, one of the lucky ones that's been able to from what I know, for the most part, get consistent work.
I've gotten to work at South Coast, at the Pasadena Playhouse Center Theater Group, the Odyssey, the Matrix, Boston Court. I mean, I feel like I've really worked at the wonderful theaters here in Los Angeles, and I'm
absolutely.
I'm thrilled.
I can't wait to get further in the conversation. We'll get started talking about the LA theater scene and
good.
all that.
You have with Doug, who's here with us. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for information on you, where people can find you that you want to send people to specifically?
Absolutely. Just go to jeaniehackett.com and you can subscribe by email to my I hate the blog word. I call it my inspiration stream. And that shows up and I'm writing, other people are writing, I'm curating. And on Twitter I'm at Jeanie Hackett. So and trying to keep our little band of all of us here in the room at the center of what really matters to us. So yes.
Glad you're around for that.
Glad too. I'm glad too.
Jeanie Hackett, jeaniehackett.com. Honestly, I thank you so much for coming on, and I honestly believe that you're one of the most intelligent voices in Los Angeles theater right now.
Oh my God, and they're all applauding too.
Yeah, and we have fake audience applause too.
Yeah, great.
And follow her on Twitter because she's got some good stuff. Jeanie Hackett.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Jeanie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeanie.
Thank you.
Well, real quick break, and we'll be back with Doug Clayton, the Director of Programming and Operations at the LA Stage Alliance. If you have any questions for Doug, make sure to give us a call at 323-247-7443, 323-247-7443. We'll be right back on La La Land with Brett and Peter Miller today on LA Talk Live. Welcome back to La La Land on LA Talk Live. That's Peter Miller. I'm Brett Chapin. I feel like I should be wearing a disco suit or something.
Something like that. The good music choices today, Von Erich. I like those.
Jamiroquai going here.
Yeah.
We are talking with the Director of Programming and Operations at the LA Stage Alliance, Mr. Doug Clayton. Thank you so much, sir.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Yep.
So we've talked about the LA Stage Alliance a lot on the show, but we're here with a new audience. Basically, if you could tell our audience what the LA Stage Alliance is actually and what you do over there.
Sure. Well, the official line, LA Stage Alliance is a 501c3 nonprofit service organization dedicated to building awareness, appreciation, and support for the performing arts of Greater Los Angeles.
Excellent.
That sounds, yeah, thank you. That sounds very beautiful. What that translates into is we're really a network of artists, arts administrators, audience members, supporters of all kinds throughout Greater LA who are dedicated one way or another to engaging with the performing arts. And then we're supported by our board of directors and our staff of something like 5 or 6 people. It varies day to day, who work very hard to collaborate with that network to do great things to move us all forward. So
in layman's terms, you basically help the theaters of Los Angeles in any way that you're able to.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
Great.
We're always there's no lack of need for support, and there's no lack of creativity about different ways to do that. So
absolutely, and you have a lot of creative ways that you go about doing that. You have LA Stage Talks, for example, that was recently took place this week, where you talk about different subjects that are happening in the Los Angeles theater scene. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the state of the LA theater scene now? What's if I'm coming in from out of town, what am I going to see if I visit the LA theater scene? What's it like?
Well, it's vibrant, it's amazing, and it's growing, and it's incredibly diverse. The thing I always say when somebody says, well, what kind of theater do they do in LA? I say they do it all. They do anything you could possibly want to see, and that's one of the wonderful things I say about LA theater, and LA generally speaking, as a native 4th generation Los Angelino, is that if you say, gosh, tonight I'd like to see Shakespeare. Okay, great. Well, there's 4 or 5 Shakespeare plays playing. If you'd like to see a musical, sure. Well, there's plenty of that. If you want to see an experimental new piece with naked people and marshmallows, well, we've got that too. So there is no lack. You just have to take the effort to.
You read my mind. I don't know how he did that.
My kind of show.
I know you well, Peter. That's all good. So that, anything you could possibly want in any kind of venue you could possibly want to be at, any kind of experience, is here. The challenge is just trying to find it in the way that you can best access it. So,
And you think it's really improved over the last, say, 10, 20 years? Do you think it's been flourishing, or do you think that it's maybe gotten less? There's less shows now than there was 10 years ago? What do you think?
there's certainly more shows now
Yeah.
than there were 10 years ago. I would say it's flourishing in almost every respect. There's more shows. From my, admittedly subjective point of view, it feels like there's more passion, there's more engagement, there's more people creatively trying different things. There's more excitement about, just as the world has progressed, ways that the theater community can relate to, the theaters can relate to one another, that they can, artists can have more engaged relationships broadly with audience members and with the different theater companies, and just how we can engage with Los Angeles as a crucial part of the sort of civic and cultural life of this region and all the millions of people who live here.
Absolutely.
So the only thing which I would say is lagging, and if you look at the national research on this, are the expansion of Los Angeles theater as far as the product and the creativity and the artwork and the passion is not matched by the expansion of funding. And so that's one thing that, for anybody who's listening, what there is lacking here is more people stepping up and saying, no, this is important. This is important to the cultural landscape, and we need to support it either with money or with other ways of, donating time or donating other physical things. So
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Well, can I jump in for one sec and just say that I having run a theater, I do think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in LA in terms of funding that just has not been tapped into. I think there's people that love theater and don't know where to go to see it, and they love little theater and they still don't know where to go. I think they're out there. We just, the community has yet to really find them, and they've had yet to find us.
I see that as an example on this show. The community is slowly starting to find us, but it's taken quite a while. The theater community. You were saying, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that reminds me
Let me
of.
talk about myself some more. Go on.
You're fascinating, Brett.
Yeah.
Just a side plug for people who haven't heard about it. The LA 2050 initiative that's happening right now, which you can go look at LA2050.com, is $1 million that's being given to try to move the needle in a bunch of different things, from health and safety to environment to arts and culture. And one of the things they pointed out in their research to prepare for that was, that basically they said arts and culture are doing great, except for funding as well. And so there's it's an opportunity for really creative ideas to be put out there that they're going to invest money in to try to help build those kinds of connections. And I think that specific angle of building connections between people who really care about the ongoing life of LA and who have resources and the arts and culture community to help it be more sustainable is a big thing that's going to come out of that.
And you said it's something, the 1050 funding? Is that what you call
LA
it?
2050. Because
LA
it's supposed to be
2050.
investing $1 million now to help push us in a way that's going to impact how LA is in the year 2050.
I love it. How much of that is going to arts? Of the million.
Between at least 100,000 and possibly as much as 200,000 or 300,000. So
That's great.
yeah, it's really exciting. You should go look it up. It's neat. And there will be crowd-based voting on the different projects that are proposed in the month of April. I think from April 2nd to April 17th. So people should take a look.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Check it out, guys. And as far as, there's a lot of things that are going on with changes in the Los Angeles theater scene. For example, the LA Theater Producers League that's being formed right now. I don't know how far along they are in their process, but can you give us a little update on what's going on with the LA Theater Producers League? Is that something you can speak to?
Sure, I can speak to in sort of general terms. I don't know the nitty gritty details of exactly when something will happen or exactly what form it will take.
Sure.
But the short version is that over the last year, Los Angeles theater producers at all levels, from the largest theaters to the very smallest theaters, have recognized the fact that they don't have an organized way to have peer leadership. So if you say, well, who are the leaders of the Los Angeles producing scene, there really isn't an answer. You can say, well, this person runs the biggest theater, but that doesn't mean that they're the biggest leader necessarily, or vice versa. So they've been having meetings of various sizes and various constituencies all year and making a lot of progress towards finding some sort of structure by which the leaders and the proactive thinkers in the Los Angeles producing community at all levels and all types, everything from the 20-seat theater to the producer who doesn't have a theater who moves around to Center Theater Group, can collaborate and get together and talk about their issues from specifically a producer's point of view. And we look forward at LA Stage Alliance to that kind of dialogue being able to inform the things that we do as a service organization and what other entities who are very engaged with the theater community, like the artist unions or like the our other vendors and partners, the press, if there's a voice at the table that can be a clearer voice of vision and leadership from the producers, that will inform all of us and I think can really move us forward. So I'm hopeful that will come into sort of more fruition sometime in the next few months.
And I also think one of the great things about this Producers Council or whatever it's going to turn out to be is really going to be training young, the new producers coming in, because there's lots of stuff that goes on that, for want of a better word, is rinky-dink still. And I think it's because, and a lot of these young producers are begging to have mentors and ideas and people they can ask, how do I do this? How do I cast? How do I get something built? How do we market to audiences? And I think there's going to be more of a coherence and more of a professionalism because there's a collective rather than siloed. I think LA theater has been kind of siloed over the years, and the collective is going to mean there's going to be more collaboration and sharing.
Because a lot of theater administrators in LA are accidental administrators. Really, they've kind of fallen into it because they love theater and they wanted to produce a show, and they realized that they could have a way to do that if they started the theater company. But a lot of them aren't trained in how to actually be an administrator. So there seems to be this separation between the ones that went to school for it and the ones that kind of fell into it. It's really an interesting mix.
Well, typically the ones that go to school for administration and that kind of thing, they're not into the creative side of it.
Right.
They're more on the business side of it, the numbers, the dollars and cents, and they don't really think, they're not creative minded more often than not.
Although there's a number of newer master's programs that are MBA Arts Administration focused, and some of those do attract, and there's a lot fewer of those than a full-on normal administrative degree, but some of those start to attract the specific people who do cross over a little bit, like the program at Claremont Graduate University that's happening right now that Laura Zucker runs, who also runs the LA County Arts Commission, gets some of those. But certainly you are right in that anyone who's willing to incur all those student loans to get a degree in arts administration is committing to an idea that, well, most of what I'm going to do is the administrative stuff, even if they're still passionate about the creative stuff.
Well, and I know for myself when I started taking the leadership of the Antia seriously, and raised a huge chunk of money, all of a sudden I thought, hey, these people I know have given me this huge chunk of money. I have to be responsible with it now. And so I sort of embarked on my own. I applied to the LA County Arts Leadership Program, and I was selected for that, and went through a 6-month period of training and designed a leadership program, and did some things through TCG. But it was like really, I think a lot of us in LA Theater learned that we have to. There's some self-training that needs to be done if we're going to be running these theaters.
Absolutely.
And
we have a call on the line. It's a question for either Doug or Jeanie. Hello, caller.
Hey, it's Dorothy.
Hey,
hi, Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy.
I know this lady. This is Dorothy Dillingham, our regular co-host. How are you?
Hi, guys. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Dorothy.
Hi. I just want to call and say hello. Miss you guys.
We miss you.
Miss you too.
Aw.
How's the South? How's South Carolina treating you?
Well, I'm actually in Oklahoma.
Oh,
I thought you did that just to throw
yeah.
people off the scent.
it's going
And
well?
It's great.
Good.
Yeah, it's going well. Getting some good food and seeing some family and everything.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Do you want to
So,
do you want to
anyway.
do you want to stay on the line and join in the conversation for the next 15 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hang out.
Okay. All right.
do you have a question for us, Dorothy?
I wasn't able to tune in, so I will listen and then question. How about that?
Sounds
Perfect.
lovely.
So I'm just since we have time to kill, we said we weren't going to talk about this in the pre-interview, but I think that we should just go for it. And let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, Look at Doug's face.
What are we talking about?
If you don't mind,
A very short-term memory over here. What were we talking about?
I would love to just briefly touch on the 99 seat agreement in Los Angeles theater.
Okay.
Los Angeles has something called a 99 seat agreement for those that don't know, and it allows theaters that are 99 seats or less to be able to produce shows and pay their actors a minimal amount. Some people feel that this is great and has worked out for us since the mid 1980s when it was established, and some people feel that it's sort of held us back because cities like Chicago don't have it and they're able to pay their actors more. Where does the LA Stage Alliance stand on this? If you can make a statement for the LA Stage Alliance, and what is your opinion on this?
Well, sure. Well, I mean, the LA Stage Alliance, again, to go back to our mission, is to build the awareness, appreciation, support of LA theater, and to extrapolate from that, it's to further the goals of why theater exists and why nonprofit theater exists in our country and in Los Angeles. It's to provide more creative opportunity for artists. It's to engage with the Los Angeles community of people who live here, people who are passionate about being in Los Angeles, and allow for all the things that theater creates, the civic dialogue around issues, opportunities for social and intellectual and emotional stimulation and engagement that builds us all as people. And so, both for LA Stage Alliance and for me personally, I'm in favor of anything that does that. And I think you said it very well at the beginning as far as the 99-seat plan goes, is that in some ways the 99-seat plan has absolutely furthered all of those goals. And it's made, Los Angeles a place where if you have something to say and if there is an artistic creative impulse, it makes it much, much easier for people to get that out there and for people to be recognized for that and for people to engage on a whole host of topics and take chances and try things that they couldn't do in a different kind of market. And in a different sense, it's held us back in some ways, particularly, the issues we already talked about here about lack of resources relative to the number of artists here. That is what led in part to the 99-seat plan. And that is, those things continue to exacerbate the fact that you have people who, are brilliant, brilliant theater artists who are creating amazing work every day, which is great, but they're having to do it, after their day job, working till 2 o'clock in the morning and not having any money and making it challenging for them to have basic standards of living that most other Americans enjoy, things like being able to have a halfway decent place to live and children and those kinds of things.
Because the contract pays $12 a show, so it makes it difficult.
Yeah, but I would like to counter this by saying part of the reason this contract came into existence was because Los Angeles actors wanted this. We wanted to be able to support our children and have a mortgage, and that means working in film and television. But there's a lot of downtime. I mean, the film and television industry requires that thousands of actors are out of work at any time in order to be available for use. So actors wanted this. We did not want to sign that contract that we were guilty, that we couldn't get out of, to do that TV show that we could pay our mortgage or that film. So this contract came into being in order to serve the creative needs of actors. Really, that's why it exists. Now, it's morphed into other things and it's caused some problems and some joys. I mean, when I hear about New York producers saying, well, gee, we could come out to LA and do something really cheap here and then we could bring it to New York. I mean, you just think like, wait a second, is this a ground where everybody comes to use us and not to nurture us? But truly, as an actor, I couldn't have signed on to do this beautiful play I'm doing now, if I had to sign a contract and there would be repercussions about getting out of it should I get work that pays during the course of this. And the theaters are good enough to let us out, do our work, and come back to the play. So.
And I think one of the things that is important, that if you ask folks in town and folks who are really engaged with this, that they'll almost all agree with, is the 99-seat plan is great for what it does, but what's important right now is for there to be better pathways for people to grow and for people to progress from there, whether it's producers and whole theater companies or whether it's individual artists. And that's what I know a lot of different players in the community here and nationally are really looking at right now. How do we when an actor or when a director or when a theater company is really doing well as a 99-seat theater, how do we let them take the next step? How do we let them, when they're getting more attention, how do we get it so they can get a little bit more money and they can pay people a little bit better and then go from there? How can there be progression so that people who develop their artistic ability in 99-seat theater can then move on to bigger houses? And even this week, it was actually a huge milestone this week that the Pasadena Playhouse just announced their season, and one of their shows is Stoneface, which ran at the Sacred Fools Theater Company last year, was very successful, starring French Stewart. But the story for me about that, it's great that the Pasadena Playhouse saw that show and said, oh, we want to do this show too. And it's great that they brought French Stewart, but French Stewart obviously is a television star as well. What's particularly passionate and exciting for me about it is that they're not just bringing French, they're not just bringing the script, they're bringing the team that did it at Sacred Fools, including their director, Jamie Robledo, and some of the other actors who historically, when that kind of thing happens, often those other members of the team get dropped. And so they've developed this great thing and the show goes on and has a life. But the director or the other actors, whoever who are on the show, go, well, okay, I worked for almost nothing to develop this, and now other people get to get paid to have a second life. And that's changing, and that's a huge thing, and huge kudos to Pasadena Playhouse, Sheldon Epps, and Elizabeth Duran up there for doing that. It's a big deal.
Well, and that's the Buster Keaton show, right?
If I could interject for a second, what I've seen is, the 99-seat has a very strong voice in Los Angeles, and then we have, the big theaters, the Center Theater Group and such. But, especially living and going to school in the Midwest, the regional theater, the place where you can really get those great credits and work on really experimental stuff and still be able to, make your ends meet. That sort of mid-range in the middle, that's what has been missing from Los Angeles, and what I think is, I think there's many companies that are ripe to become that middle range, and I don't know if it's an equity issue, if it's a money issue, if it's a space issue, they haven't taken that leap of faith to become the great Guthries of Los Angeles, or the Bailywicks or the Steppenwolfs or whatever.
I've heard there's no incentive to move to midsize because of the 99-seat contract. That's the complaint I've heard.
Well, I would say that they would say that because there are some companies who have done that. There aren't many who have done it lately. But in the late 90s, you did have several theaters: International City Theater in Long Beach, the Colony, Noise Within, East West Players, who have done that and are still here. But certainly, if you ask them, they have sacrificed a ton and had to, almost kill themselves just to keep the doors open. Basically because they feel they value so much having people actually on contracts and being paid. They could all go back to 99-seat tomorrow if they wanted.
Well,
but
sure.
And one of the things that the 99-seat community has fostered is the rise of ensemble companies. And this is such an important movement in theater right now. And somehow when you move from the 99-seat world to the mid-size world, you can't continue to do big ensemble shows anymore. I mean, you have to move into that world of, how many characters are in the play? I need 2. I need 3 people in this play. Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, the whole thing changes. And I think for a lot of us that work in 99-seat theater, what we appreciate is the purity of this. Film and television is paying our salaries for the most part so that we can work for $11 a night when we want to. And there's a purity in that you don't find when, because the Guthrie, of course, is a huge theater like Center Theater Group. It's like, it's true, the mid-range is what we're missing. Those big theaters, it's a different world. Yes, people will sign on to work at the Taper. But to the Colony, I mean, I don't want to break my contract once I've signed it. I don't want to break my word. So
sure. And don't get me wrong, I feel like the 99-seat contract is the reason that I've been able to get some of the opportunities in theater that I've gotten. But I don't know. I just I hear that I see Chicago actors doing it differently. I see actors in other major cities doing it differently where they don't have a 99-seat plan.
they don't have a film and television industry that's huge,
That's true.
dominating their
That's
culture.
true too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I guess it's tough to compare markets, but and not that it's all about the money, but honestly, actors need to be getting paid. Actors need to
Yes, they do.
at least be able to pay their bills. So I don't know.
I think the film and television industry, I think every studio should take a theater under its wing. There's costumes there. There's
amazing.
sets there. There's people there.
That is a
I mean,
fantastic idea.
If
I
every
love
studio
that.
took one theater, and it would cost nothing for them, zero, and because they need the talent and they need the writers, that when they find them, they actually are supporting some of them. But if we could make that happen and really integrate those two aspects of our business, I think that would be heaven in Los Angeles.
But why?
So too.
I say this with my tongue firmly in my cheek. Why take a young theater under your wing when you can simply reboot a comic book franchise that's been done to death?
It's becoming more. It's becoming more prestigious. I think it's really becoming more prestigious for organizations to support culture. I think that there's an element of just the way Bank of America lends its name to the Job Free Ballet. There's something in that for Sony to do it, for Universal to do it. And I know, running a theater, I mean, I knocked on the door of those costume shops. Those people wink at you and say, yeah, we'll give it to you for $10. And they give you costumes. If you know the right person to ask. These people want to help theater. They've all been in theater.
Mhm.
Yes.
Just that nobody's knocking on the right door.
Yeah.
Do they want to talk? Do they want to help digital live talk shows?
Yeah, that's the
my
real
question.
question right there. Yeah.
Right, Dorothy?
But I don't want to leave before
Hey.
we talk about LA Stage Alliance's new exciting space. We haven't talked about that yet.
Oh, right. So if you don't mind us
I was not gonna forget.
Space.
if you don't mind us hijacking stuff, do that.
Please.
So just on the subject of LA Stage Alliance and all the crazy things we do, and since we were just talking about costumes and that kind of thing, we had a great opportunity just recently to get a new facility, which we've just got the keys to last week, and which will be opening formally in probably June. That is not just offices for us, but is actually a community center that includes a big warehouse where the small and mid-sized theater companies of Los Angeles will be collaborating together with their props, costume sets, etc. Which is something that the community has been asking for at least 20 years, if not 30 or 40 years, because
Great idea.
again, most of these companies don't have a lot of resources, they don't have a lot of space, and every day it seems like a theater closes a show and says, "We have all this stuff, we have all this lumber, we have all these costumes, we have all this
Everything
stuff,
must go.
and anybody can have anything for free, but you have to come get it right now."
Well,
And if people don't, then it all goes in the trash, which is obviously a
Or
waste
you-
of money and a
You rent
waste of
storage spaces that
Right.
we all end up renting from public storage and things that you can't get them out, and this is going to be.
if I may interject, a good example of that, I was talking about Putnam County Spelling Bee earlier. Dorothy, I don't know if you knew this. We're using these bleachers in here that were just used in a production of it in Santa Clarita. And they were literally told exactly what you said. Get it now or we trash it. And Sherman
Yeah.
Wayne
Well, and the
from...
thing was,
Yeah.
He's
I
up there
spoke
with
to
his truck.
Sherman because he was stressing over finding those bleachers, and I said, "Well, have you called anybody who recently did the show? It's a popular show right now. You could contact MTI or because actually a lot of the licensing companies do have blog pages where you can communicate with theaters in your area who have done the show, and if you have any sort of issues that maybe someone else may have had and that's how I found costumes for Theater Palisades Youth. We've traded off with other schools, and it saves a bucket of money. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
To
I
say
mean,
the least.
I don't know how many times somebody's worked on a show that's set in a Dickens era thing like Christmas Carol. And I know I did a show a few years ago that was set with that, and I needed a set of distressed Dickens era costumes just like you would use for Christmas Carol. And I went, I know there are 18 sets of this in people's closets around town, but the people I called didn't happen to have it. And so we had to go buy it and build it, and it was just.
And now you have a space where you might be able to get things like that.
Exactly, up in Atwater Village, which is a wonderful part of town and pretty centrally located, although a little challenging perhaps if you're on the coast, like the Pacific Palisades. But it's going to be a great place where the theaters can really put their stuff together and then borrow from one another in a way that makes sense and saves everybody money and saves the landfills from all this stuff. And frankly, we'll start creating really fun creative narratives. I can't wait until this has been going for 5 years and we can say, okay, so this couch has been in these productions. It was in, this Tennessee Williams play, and it was this play, and it was this and this and this, and in a sense, start personifying a little bit these, these things and creating more connections. And every time whenever somebody borrows something or rents something out of this facility, and you get your little, okay, you're renting this couch and these necklaces and whatever it is, on the right, we're going to have it say where those things came from. So you'll go, oh, I'm getting this couch that Sacred Fools donated, and I'm getting these chairs that came from Antaeus, and I'm getting these costumes that came from Center Theater Group, to, again, keep reinforcing the fact that we are stronger when we work together.
We're ready to donate a set of red curtains to you guys.
Fantastic.
You want them?
We'll take them.
Cool.
We'll take them, yeah.
Where can people find information about the LA Stage Alliance?
LAStageAlliance.com, and then our sort of network of sites, which includes LAStageTix.com, which is discount ticketing for theaters in town, and LAStageTimes.com, which is our professional journalism site where we pay journalists, editors, and writers specifically to write long-form, detailed, quality journalism about the theater that's going on in LA. So LA Stage Alliance, LA Stage Tix, LA Stage Times.
Nice. Hi, Deborah Behrens. From
Deborah?
From LA Stage Times. And about for information about you personally, if people want to follow you on Twitter, where can they find you?
Sure. Twitter. I'm at Duke Clayton, D-U-K-E, like a British royalty, whatever. Duke Clayton on Twitter. And then right now, I don't have a website personally, but you can find me on LAStageAlliance.com and LAStageTimes.com as well.
Very cool.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Good stuff. I wish we had more time because this is like a really good conversation about LA theater. You were going to say?
Can I say one more thing?
Please.
Rattlestick.org.
Yes.
Tickets for Slipping. And my name is spelled JeanieHackett.com for the workroom. Come.
And fountaintheater.com.
And the fountaintheater.com, which I did give before. But once again, the phone number for tickets, 323-663-1525.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank all
you
of
so
you.
much for a great conversation. This is wonderful.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Will you both come back and join us again?
Sure.
Any day.
Awesome.
Thank
I'm glad
you.
we actually got your segment recorded this time.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad Dorothy could join us too.
Yes.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Hey, Dorothy, we'll see you next week.
All right, sounds awesome.
Okay. Talk to you then. Have fun.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And Peter Miller. Go see Dorothy and Peter Miller in the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, theaterpalisades.com.
April 12th through May 12th.
Yes, indeed. And see me in Rent at beyondthestageproductions.com or therentproject.com. We're opening on April 4th, and we've run through April 6th. Big 1,600-seat theater. I cannot wait.
April 4th through the 6th, just the one weekend, right?
Just the one weekend.
Oh, okay.
It's a benefit for Manchester Labs, which is an AIDS counseling and research foundation. And next week on the show, surprise, surprise, I'm going to be having our lead actor and our director on. Vanessa Huelm and Brett McMahon will be joining us.
Well, there you go. Cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Also next week on the show, this is awesome.
I
Davis
can't wait.
Gaines,
Wow.
Broadway star, the longest running Phantom on Broadway.
And very recently, Ovation Award-winning performer for his performance as Don Quixote at Musical Theater West.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And he was in Silence the Musical, playing Hannibal Lecter.
There's a
recently.
What a
Silence
guy.
of the Lambs musical.
There is,
Oh, my
and it's
Oh, you missed it. You
Fantastic.
missed it. It was great.
amazing.
I just got the album for Carrie the musical, so you know.
It's amazing.
Oh,
You got to
God,
check
make
it
a
out.
musical out of anything.
We are also going to be having Jake Harris, who is a fan who had a disagreement with me about a band.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, 21 Pilots. And I said, why don't you come on the show and tell me why you like them? So maybe he'll change my opinion.
Round 2. Here we go.
Yeah, good stuff. We also have David Rogers, Matt Bolinsky of Sunday Movie Tweet Along, where they live tweet 80s movies on Sundays at 7.
Very cool stuff.
There are huge question marks floating over my head. Can we CGI those in?
I know.
Oh, God.
We have actor and performer Doug Green joining us. It's a ridiculously
Doug
huge show.
Green.
You know,
He's
Doug.
awesome. Yeah.
Good stuff. For information on us, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/lalalandtalk, Twitter at twitter.com/lalalandtalk. You can send us an email at lalalandtalk@gmail.com. Check out our Indiegogo account at indiegogo.com/sponsor La La Land Season 3. That's the number 3. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Peter Miller.
Thank you for having me.
See you again soon. Break
I
a
would
leg
love
in
to.
spelling bee.
Thank you.
And for all of us here at LA Talk Live, that's Peter Miller. I'm Brett Chapin. This is La La Land on LA Talk Live, and we'll see you at the top.